Indeed, you will. You will understand the cup of his suffering and of his baptism. This is what Jesus said to James and John when they made that bold declaration that they wanted to be on the right hand or the left hand of Jesus in his kingdom. And Jesus challenged them. He says, can you take the cup and the baptism that I'm about to be baptized with? And again, I look back at the process of all of this. And I read in the Gospels about how that, as I mentioned yesterday on the broadcast, even there at the Last Supper, they were arguing about who would be the greatest in the kingdom of God. And then they left the Last Supper. Jesus goes to the Garden of Gethsemane, and he takes the four that he seemingly was closest to, Peter, James, John, and Andrew. And he took them into the garden with him. And he left them there, and then he went deeper into the garden, and he began to pray, and he was crying out to God. He left and went back to check on them. And he had told them before he left them, he says, watch and pray. Well, when he came back, what were they doing? They were asleep. You see, the understanding of picking up the cross, bearing the sufferings of Christ, they didn't understand. There's a whole lot more to this than they understood. But the reality is that what Christ did when he went to the cross, he honored the Father, the will of the Father, and he accomplished this tremendous thing of literally defeating death, hell, and the grave there on the cross of Calvary, that he might become the sacrificial lamb for all of those who would receive what Christ has done. Well, you see, Jesus began to explain this to James and John. And he began to talk about the world system versus his system. And basically he said the Gentiles or the world system is this, is that you have a ruler. And he's the king, and everybody submits to his will, and they bow to him to serve him. This is what Samuel told the children of Israel when they said, oh, we want a king, we want a king. He says, you get a king, and the next thing you know, you will be the hewers of their water, and you will be servant to them, and they will chastise you and whip you to make you serve them. That's the world system. That's the system that Jesus is identifying here. But he says the kingdom of God is not that way. He said the kingdom of God is a system where those who are in authority serve the people. As Jesus became a servant when he allowed himself to be beaten and bruised and experience the suffering for the redemption of all mankind. This is Pastor Jack King with the gospel on the radio broadcast.